Lesson 90, adding and subtracting rational expressions. First off, just review what rational expressions are. They're like fractions. They're rational numbers, so they can be written as a fraction. So you'll have a variable in the numerator and or the denominator. Just like fractions, you cannot add or subtract rational expressions without having like denominators. So you'll have to make sure that the denominators are the same before you add and subtract the numerators. So here, the first one, they both have 20x in the denominator, so now I can keep the denominators the same and add the numerators. And remember, with the numerators, you can only add like terms. The variables are the same and the exponents are the same. So 2 plus 3 is 5, x squared. And then from this point, then we need to reduce. I can divide a 5 in the numerator. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 20 divided by 5 is 4. And then I can also take my exponents and simplify. X squared divided by x. I subtract the exponents when I'm dividing. So now I have 1/4 and then x in the numerator. So it would be x divided by 4 or 1/4 x. Next example, I have 3a minus 2 over a plus 2 minus a minus 6 over a plus 2. The denominators stay the same, so a plus 2. In the numerator, I have 3a minus a, which is 2a, and I have a negative 2 minus a negative 6. So a negative 2 minus a negative 6 is really the same thing as negative 2 plus 6, which would be a positive 4. And now I can simplify here. I can factor out a 2 in the numerator. That leaves me with a plus 2. And that's important because in the denominator, I also have a plus 2. And I can simplify because the a plus 2 divide each other out. And all I'm left with is 2. Next one, z cubed minus 10z squared over z squared minus 3z minus 18 plus 4z squared over z squared minus 3z minus 18. Since the denominators are the same, so I got z squared minus 3z minus 18. I can now combine numerators. I have a z cubed. I have a negative 10z squared plus 4z squared. That's a minus 6z squared. And from this point, now I'm going to factor. So in the numerator, I can take 2 z's out. If I take 2 z's out, that leaves me with a z minus 6. And in the denominator, I have a trinomial. And I can, what two numbers do I multiply to get negative 18? But add them together gives me a negative 3. That would be a negative 6 and a positive 3. And then I check to see if there's anything in common with the numerator and the denominator. Z minus 6 is in common. So I'd be left with z squared all over z plus 3. Next example, we have common denominators. So they're 24m. Numerators, 4mn plus 11mn would be 15mn. Find out if there's any common denominators. I have a 3m I can take out, and that leaves me with 5n. And in the denominator, I can also take a 3m out, and that would leave me with 8. So when I'm factoring, I'm just looking to see if there's a common factor in both the numerator and denominator. In this case, 3m is what's in common. They divide each other off, and I'm left with 5n all over 8. Next one, common denominators is y plus 6. In the numerator, I have 7y minus y, which is 6y. Negative 2 minus a negative 38, which is a negative 2 plus 38, which would give us positive 36. And I can simplify, I can factor out a 6. That leaves me with y plus 6. And the denominator, I already have y plus 6. And so the y plus 6 cancels out, and I'm left with 6. On the bottom one, I have common denominators, and so I can have d squared minus 5d minus 36. Numerators, I have d to the fourth, and then I have a 2d cubed plus 2d cubed, which is a positive 4d cubed. And now simplify, I can factor out a d cubed. That leaves me with d plus 4. In the denominator, I have a trinomial. Two numbers multiply to get negative 36, but add them together gives me a negative 5. That would be a negative 9 and a positive 4. The d plus 4 cancels out, and I'm left with d cubed all over d minus 9. And that would be our answer. Second type, adding with unlike denominators. So here we need to find the common denominator first before we can add our fractions or our rational expressions. So 6h plus 2h squared. Well, the common denominator of 6 and 2 is 6, and the common denominator of h and h squared, it cannot be smaller than the biggest exponent, so it has to be h squared. So now I have two expressions that need to have 6h squared. So what do I multiply 6h by to get 6h squared? I would need to multiply that by h. And whatever I do in the denominator, I must do in the numerator. So that would give me 2h to the fifth. And over here, 2h squared, I already have the h squared. I need to get from 2 to 6, so I need to multiply this by 3. And whatever I do in the numerator, I do in the denominator. So 4 times 3 is 12. And then I have my h squared. Now I can add, the denominators are the same, so 6h squared, 2h to the fifth, plus 12h squared. I can now factor. I can factor out a 2h squared in the numerator, and that would give me h cubed plus 6h. And in the denominator, I can factor out a 2h squared, and that would leave me with 3 in the denominator. 2h squared divides out, and I'm left with h cubed plus 6h all over 3. And this would be my answer. Next one, common denominators of 5x cubed and 10x. 5 and 10 would be 10. X cubed and x, the greatest common factor would be x cubed. So now I got to figure out what do I multiply each numerator and denominator. So here, 5 times 2 gives us 10x cubed. So multiply the numerator times 2. Over here, I have my 10, but I need 2 more x's. So I'll multiply by x squared. And I'm left with 4x cubed. Now I can add together. I have 10x cubed in the denominator all over 2 plus 4x cubed. I can factor out a 2 in the numerator. That leaves me with 1 plus 2x cubed. Denominator, I can take a 2 out. That leaves me with 5x cubed. 2's cancel off, and I'm left with 1 plus 2x cubed all over 5x cubed. Third type, subtracting with unlike denominators. So first we need to have common denominators. And for this one, since I have a binomial and then I have a trinomial, I want to see what are my factors. So I have x plus 3 over x minus 4 in the first one. There I'm subtracting. I'm going to factor the trinomial. This would be a positive 5 and a minus 4, because a negative 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. 5 plus a negative 4 is 1. So common denominators. They both have x minus 4. But the second one has the x plus 5. So the common denominator is x plus 5 times x minus 4. And this first one needs an x minus 5. So I need to multiply this by x plus 5. Do that both in the numerator and the denominator. So when I do that, I end up with x plus 3 times x plus 5. And then all that I'm going to be subtracting 2 because I already have this denominator. I don't need to change the numerator. But I would need to use FOIL for this, the numerator. So you have your x squared, 3x plus 5x equals 8x. 3 times 5 is 15. And then I have this minus 2 here. And then I have x plus 5 times x minus 4, which would give me an answer of x squared plus 8x plus 13. And I cannot factor that. And the denominator, I would have x plus 5 times x minus 4. And we would keep our answer looking that way, everything factored as much as we can go. Other example, here, need to factor this. This would be x squared, or x. So this would be a positive 9 and a minus 1, because that gives us a negative 9. Subtract them, and you get a positive 8. So this one has an x minus 1, so I need to get an x plus 9. So multiply that. And so now I'm going to distribute, or use FOIL. So x times x is x squared. 9x plus 3x is 12x. And 9 times 3 is 27. And then I'm subtracting. Because I'm subtracting a binomial, I need to distribute the negative 1. So this would be a minus x minus 5. Because of this subtraction here, I just distribute that minus sign. This is all going to be over x plus 9 times x minus 1. So combine like terms, I end up with x squared plus 12x minus 1x is 11x. 27 minus 5 is a positive 22. All over x plus 9 times x minus 1. Now I can try to figure out if I can factor that numerator any further. And that is in lowest terms because there's not a number I can multiply to get 22, but when I add those two numbers together to give me 11. So this would stay as our answer. Next one, factor the trinomial. So this would be plus 3 and a plus 2, because 3 times 2 is 6, 3 plus 2 is 5. This one right here is missing the x plus 2. So multiply that by the numerator and the denominator. And that would give us x squared plus 2x minus 3 in the numerator, just subtracting this part. In the denominator, I already have x plus 3 times x plus 2. Now in the numerator, I can factor that. I know that a negative 3 times a positive, or positive 3 times a negative 1 gives us a negative 3, and 3 minus 1 gives us 2. In the denominator, I have x plus 3 times x plus 2. And now I can figure out if there's any common factors. There are. The x plus 3's cancel off, and I'm left with an answer of x minus 1 divided by x plus 2. And so that would be our simplified answer. Fourth type of question, simplify with opposite denominators. So we're going to need to multiply the numerator and denominator. You can either do the second term or the first term. It does not matter. But you're going to multiply that by a negative 1 over a negative 1 so that you can get like denominators. So I'm going to multiply the second one by a negative 1 just because I like having my variables positive. So when I do that, I end up with 8 over v minus 4 plus distributes. I have a negative v plus 7 over distribute here. A negative 4 plus v. Now the denominators are the same, they just switch the order. So a negative 4 plus v is the same as v minus 4. So now I can combine. I'm going to put v minus 4 as my variable first. And now in my numerator, I have 8 plus 7, which is 15, minus v. And I can't factor that any further, so this would be my answer. Next one, 6 divided by a minus 3 plus 4a divided by 3 minus a. And I'm going to multiply the second one by a negative 1 over a negative 1. And I have 6 over a minus 3 plus distributes a negative 4a over distributes negative 3 plus a. So my denominator is a minus 3. And then I have 6 minus 4a. Can I simplify that? Let's see, I can take out a 2, and I'm left with 3 minus 2a over a minus 3. There's nothing in common with the numerator and denominator. I have everything factored out the way I wanted it to be. Next one, we got negative 1 over t to the 4th minus 2 plus t plus 9 over 2 minus t to the 4th. So I'm going to multiply the second one by negative 1 over negative 1. So now I have negative 1 over t to the 4th minus 2 distributes negative 1. So this is a plus negative t minus 9 over a negative 2 plus t to the 4th. So when I combine, I got t to the 4th minus 2, negative 1 plus a negative 9 is a negative 10, and I have a minus t. There's nothing I can factor here, so my answer would remain as negative t, or negative 10 minus t over t to the 4th minus 2. Now your answer could slightly be different if you decide to make your denominator 2 minus t to the 4th. The numbers would be the same, it's just the signs would be a little bit opposite. So it all depends on which expression you multiply by a negative 1. And some application. A plane flies 2,000 miles with a headwind and makes the return trip with a tailwind. Write and simplify the expression for the total time the round trip flight, assuming the wind speed W remains constant and the plane's rate averages 500 miles per hour. We need to have two rational expressions. Since they're asking us to find the total time, if you think about rate times time equals distance, the time would equal distance divided by the rate. So it's 2,000 miles. So the distance would be 2,000 miles divided by the rate. And the rate you have a headwind and you have a tailwind. And the rate is 500 miles per hour. So with the headwind, it means you're going against the wind. So you have your 500 miles per hour, but you're going against the wind, so that's going to slow you down. So that's a minus W. Plus, we have the 2,000 distance, and then on the way back, you have the wind, so that's going to help you. So that's going to be positive W. It goes a little bit quicker with the tailwind. So now we can find common denominators. The common denominator is both of them combined. So this would be 500 minus W times 500 plus W. So in both of these, I need to multiply the numerator and denominator by, so it would be 500 plus W. This one I have to multiply by 500 minus W. So when I distribute, I have 2,000 times 500. 2,000 times, or 2 times 5 would be 10. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this would be 1 million. And then this is plus 2,000 W. And then I'm adding to that 2,000 times 500, which would be 1 million. Minus 2,000 W. And in my answer, I get 1 million plus 1 million is 2 million. This 2,000 W and this 2,000 W cancel off. And I'm left with 500 minus W times 500 plus W. And that would be our answer. In our last application, a kayaker paddles 5 miles one way against the current and then makes the return trip with the current. Write and simplify an expression for the total time of the kayak trip, assuming the rate of current remains constant and the kayaker's paddling rate averages 1.5 miles per hour. So distance divided by rate, so 1.5. So against it, so minus, I'm going to do minus C for current, plus 5 over 1.5 plus the current. So again, common denominator is actually 1.5 minus C times 1.5 plus C. Multiply both by plus C in the numerator and in the denominator. This side would be 1.5 minus C, both in the numerator and the denominator. So 5 times 5.5, or 5 times 1.5. So we got 5 times 5, which is 25. 5 times 1 plus 2 is 7.5. So we got 7.5 plus 5C plus 7.5 minus 5c. When I combine it, 7.5 plus 7.5 is 15. 5c minus 5c is 0. And that's all over 1.5 minus c times 1.5 plus c. And that would be our total time. That is our lesson today on adding and subtracting rational expressions.